I want to talk today about facilitating rooms, facilitating meetings, facilitating whatever context you might be in with other people. Oftentimes, especially in our day and age, we're on Zoom, even facilitating Zoom rooms. You know, I want to give you some insight today on maybe how to be a better facilitator. These are things that I'm working on as well. I'll start with this. The aim of being a great facilitator is being the most interested, not the most interesting. Okay. Being the most interested one in the room, not the most interesting. What I mean is, and I'm sure you can assume what I mean, but just to give further context and explanation to it, what I mean is being interested in what they have to say and their insight, knowledge, wisdom, feedback, being interested in what they have internalized for some time. Because when you give them a voice, it reminds them that they have a seat at the table, that they belong there. And even further than that, it gives them ownership if it's their idea. Even if you had the idea, even if that's what you would have done, when they can find it in themselves. And that's just the art of coaching. That's even coaching in a one-on-one setting. When you can lead them to finding a solution in themselves, you'll just see them take ownership of something, of an idea, of a thought, all the more. So you are interested in what they have within. And oftentimes, and I'm sure you know this if you're watching this, oftentimes it's the quietest ones in the room that have some of the greatest feedback. Isn't it interesting? Because they have thought through and they've been very analytical and critical. They've thought, right? They've considered. And then finally, when they do speak up, it's just this incredible idea. And oftentimes people like that, they although that you've made it very clear that they have a voice, even if it's a healthy culture where conversation can be, had, sometimes just calling on them, it just unlocks them, it unpacks them. So our role as facilitators, say we're leading a meeting, is to cultivate, I'm going to call it their conversation. Cultivate their conversation. So you're in a Zoom meeting and there is a problem that arises, and maybe just calling on somebody. Hey, Steve. Oh, hey, Rachel. Hey, Barbara. What do you think about this? What do you think we should do? And so it's incredible. Or not even a problem that needs a solution, even just an idea. Hey, we got some incredible things coming up. Has anyone been thinking about, maybe some other type of events or outreaches or, marketing strategies? Hey, what do you think? Now, of course, I just had the thought, if it's a marketing idea or whatever, if that's somebody's department specifically, of course, we just need to be considerate and not overstep, and not, let's say it is Barbara's, department, and I call on Steve for a fresh marketing idea, it might catch Barbara off guard. Now, again, you want to have an honest, open, and transparent culture, a hot culture to where anybody can speak ideas. Yes. So make sure you have that established first before Barbara might feel overstepped, if that makes sense. So I'm going to give you 4 essentials for a meeting. Okay. I have another teaching, another thought that, 5 reasons for meetings, but I'm going to give you 4 essentials for a meeting. Okay. This is really important. Okay. Now, I understand that there are exceptions to this. Maybe there are certain type of meetings with a certain type of nature that may not can cover all this, but typically speaking, this is just an incredible essentials list. Okay. That there are some recipes that there are just some essential things you need in it. If you go to the store, you have a shopping list, and to make enchiladas, you have to have tortillas. There's just no way around it. Okay. It's an essential item, right? Salt is pretty essential to a lot of, spices. It's typically speaking, it's just a part of it. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a shopping list, a to-do list for every meeting. Okay. To get list. In my life coaching certification, they like to call it a ta-da list instead of a to-do list. It's a ta-da list, like ta-da. So, okay, 4 essentials for a meeting. Number 1, a clear script. A clear script. Okay, a clear script. It's very clear what you are going to do in the meeting, what you're going to accomplish. Okay, a clear script, which really encompasses the next 3 points that we're about to get into. So just clarity. Okay, clear expectations, etc. A clear script. Okay, this goes into number 2. Number 2, a clear agenda. A clear purpose, a clear agenda, a clear purpose. What's the point of this meeting? What I cannot stand are pointless, agendaless meetings. Meetings for the sake of meetings needs to just be an email. Okay, save everybody time. And especially if you are paying the employees, if we are paying the employees to be there, it better have a point, because it's not cheap. Meetings aren't cheap because time's not cheap. Okay. And then someone's attention is not cheap. So if we're going to pull somebody away with their time, their attention, their energy, their emotional capacity, mental capacity, it better be, for a great reason. Otherwise, it could just be an email. So a clear agenda, a clear purpose. That's just good communication. If you give a speech or a presentation or a sermon, whatever it might be, there needs to be a clear destination. Where are you going with this? What's the point of this? If I'm going to sit you down for 40 minutes and you listen to me, I need to make sure that I'm being clear, right? So even in this type of setting that we're in right now, whether it be Valor Leadership Academy, whether it be the Leadership Lounge, facilitating rooms, we are talking about how to be a greater, more effective and efficient facilitator. That's the point. Point of this is that we improve our, skill sets on facilitating rooms, essentially facilitating people and cultivating their conversation, right? So clear agenda and clear purpose. There has to be a reason, even if there are multiple things to cover, because oftentimes in meetings, there are multiple things to cover, but those things still have a reason to be talked about over a period of time and people's attention. Okay, so a clear agenda, a clear purpose. So maybe even, I like to make that clear up front. Matter of fact, I will usually put it when I send a request for them to show up to the meeting in the calendar. I will put the reason for the meeting in the calendar request, purpose. And then I'll have because maybe they want to be prepared and they want to, sometimes if I just say, I've done this before and I try not to do this ever now, but if I say, hey man, can you meet next Tuesday at 3? And let's say today's Monday and I say next Tuesday. So we got 8 days until Tuesday at 3:00. I don't want to put that on my team member. I don't want them to be tempted with anxiety for 8 days on not knowing what the meeting was about. Okay. So I just like to kind of take that edge off and just say, hey, can we meet in 8 days and just debrief last night's, meeting or, service or, event, and then, so it just, man, when you just take that, that edge off, it really, because how it is, right? You know how it is. You get a text, hey man, can you talk? And you're sometimes the stories we tell ourselves, right? Sometimes we think the worst, right? Hey, can you talk? You're like, oh God, like what did I do? What is going on? So I always like to practice, hey, can you talk? Are you able to jump on the phone? I want to chat about the grocery run that we're going to have later today. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, absolutely, man. So just being clear. And then, of course, when you get in the setting, remind everybody in the room, especially when you're in and out of a lot of meetings that a lot of us, do, hey, everyone, thanks for, your time and attention today. The purpose of this meeting is to debrief the event that we had last week. And so it's just like, oh, okay, well, cool. And of course, they would probably know going into the meeting what it was about so that they can be prepared and thought, because I like to prepare for meetings. Any chance that I get, I can be light on my feet when I need to and swift and all that. But any chance that I get, it's like, okay, well, what's the purpose? Because I want to be prepared. And hey, there's nothing wrong, by the way, asking somebody that requests a meeting what the purpose is, and then don't ask them, hey, why? Of course, you can ask them, what's the purpose? Because I would like to be prepared. Or you can ask them if they just say, hey, let's meet. You can just simply say, I would love to be prepared for this, meeting. What's the purpose? What's the purpose? It's like, oh yeah, of course, man. We're just gonna debrief, last week's event. So, or it's like there's a few things that we need to, resolve between us. It's like, okay, well, at least that there is conflict to be resolved. You can kind of go into it, and if you're a person of faith, like myself, spending some time in prayer, asking for the Lord's wisdom, that it really goes a long way. Okay, so that was number 2. That was a long way of saying have a clear agenda and purpose, and then make it known. Okay, number 3. Facilitating a meeting. Okay. Number 3, clear assignments. Clear assignments. So, for example, if it's a larger type of meeting, then you are probably going to have different people doing different things. Okay. For example, you might have a note taker. You might have one that organizes and directs, an icebreaker. You might have a timekeeper. You might have a sectional leader. Okay, that leads maybe a segment in it. Okay, whatever other type of person, you might assign a person to pray at the end. But having clear assignments, again, it just gives those people greater ownership to really make their segment, make their portion, make their assignment as effective and efficient as it can be. So clear assignments. We don't have to be the only one that speaks or that helps cultivate the conversation. Okay, so again, number 1, a clear script. Number 2, a clear agenda and purpose. Number 3, clear assignments. And then number 4, clear takeaways. Clear takeaways. Okay, so making sure everybody knows exactly what to do and who is doing it and when they're doing it when they leave the meeting. So I love this quote that assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Okay, assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. So if I just say, hey, we need to make sure the parking lot is clean, I don't know, before people get here. Can we do that, guys? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. And then I move on. Well, we can all assume that somebody else is going to do it. And therefore it never gets done. So we could be like, hey, we need to make sure the parking lot is clean. Hey, are there 2 people in this room who could do that maybe tomorrow afternoon? And then it's like, Steve and, Sarah raises their hand. And it's like, okay, thank you, Steve and Sarah. Thank y'all. Y'all going to take care of that. We can consider it done. Let's move on. And so, again, just making sure that people have clear takeaways, and not just in assignments, but of course also in what the purpose of today was about. So you can say something like, okay, we're all clear that when people in our organization emails us, we're all clear that we have 48 hours to respond. That's just one of our codes of conduct. That's part of our culture. We respond within 48 hours. Everybody understand? Yes. Okay, moving on. So clear takeaways. Anything like that, just being clear, kind of wrapping it up at the end. I use this anytime I give a presentation or a sermon. I'll say stuff like, if we get anything out of today, it is this. And then I say my 1 point. So the purpose of this today is this. I say my point. Okay. So we need to believe the room's audience to be leaders and that they are brilliant. Okay. Assume that they are incredibly wise. And again, our job, our role, our assignment as the facilitators is to unpack and unwrap the gift that is within them. Okay. They oftentimes hold the solutions, the creativity, and the wisdom that we need to move this thing forward and serve more people. Okay. So a clear script, a clear agenda, clear assignments, clear takeaways. So the big point of this is clarity, clear expectations, and clear communication. Okay. So next time we go into a meeting, let's really look at the agenda and let's be prepared for the people. If we are taking their time and their attention and their capacity, then let's be sure that we are clear. People don't mind giving their time. They mind wasting their time. Okay. So I've been paying attention as well. If I recall a meeting and if I get any kickback or if there's complications, I got to look in the mirror and say, okay, well, maybe that they're kicking back and not wanting to meet. Maybe because the last two meetings I've had with them, maybe I've been ill prepared and they picked up on that. So maybe that's just something good to be aware of. Okay. I'm going to give you a very quick facilitation checklist. Okay. Here are some practicals. I love practicals. So I don't just want to give you a buffet of a thought. I want to give you to-go boxes. Okay. Nothing like, man, I used to not eat, I used to not take boxes home, but man, I'll take some food home nowadays. I love to-go boxes. Okay. So I'm going to give you some to-go boxes. Okay, so facilitation checklist, getting real practical here, really, really applicable. All right. First, ensure that the room is distraction free. So if you're on a Zoom call, you want to mute, make sure that you have everybody muted. And then, because sometimes people will unmute themselves and then they're talking to their kids or whatever, and you just want to mute them. Okay. And then number 2, direct the room. Again, be interested. You are the great director and facilitator. You're directing conversation. You're not letting sideline conversations, irrelevant conversations get in the way. You are directing the room like a conductor. Okay. You're not necessarily always playing the music, but you're kind of directing the music in the room. All right. So ensure the room is distraction free and then direct the room. Okay. And I'll encourage you to maybe study ways that rooms can be set up, physical rooms, physical spaces, to really endorse and amplify focus. There are ways to set up rooms in such a way. The third one is send the script in advance. Send the script in advance. I used to work for an organization that by the time the meeting day got here, the agenda was already in the script was already in my inbox. I could access it. I knew who was speaking when they were speaking. I knew when the leader was going to share, a few thoughts. But up until that point, it was facilitated by said leader. And then we all had a different assignment to be prepared for. Okay, so send the script, the order, in advance. Okay. Next thought. Set the session rules, behaviors, and expectations. Set the rules, behaviors, and expectations. So up front, you can do it with a very positive, encouraging tone. So, hey guys, thank you so much for giving your time today to this meeting. Thank you for preparing, appropriately for this meeting. We're going to get into some really good stuff today. Hey, I cannot wait today to debrief last week's event. I thought it was incredible. You guys did incredible. I just ask that everybody, lean in and be focused, today. And what we're going to do is for the next 30 minutes, if that's what it takes, for the next 30 minutes, we're going to dive right into debriefing this. I do have a very clear format, as you can see in front of you, and we will follow along with said format. And let's just be sure that we don't get off topic today. Let's really lock in and honor each other's time. And thank you in advance for doing so. And it's going to be an incredible meeting. So let's jump right into it today. Thanks, guys. Something like that. Just very, saying it in such a way to where you're not like, hey, guys, you better focus, you better do this, you better do. No, it's just like you assume that they will, but you assume it, but you communicate that you have assumed, that they're going to do so. So thanks, guys, so much for being attentive today. Thank you so much for your focus. Thank you guys for running through this. What we're going to do is, we're going to go step by step. And so thank you in advance for doing so. And so it's a much different tone than, hey, what I need you guys to do today, you better do this. It's like, no, man, that's not really the culture that we're trying to cultivate here, right? So set the session rules, behaviors, and expectations up front. Be clear and then be positive. Okay. All right. Next point, apply emotional intelligence and stay connected. Apply emotional intelligence and stay connected. So you just want to constantly read the room. Okay. You want to constantly read the room. I don't want to say too much more on that, but you just need to stay connected with them, stay in conversation, stay encouraging. Okay. Don't unplug from, if they're on a roll, and you see collaboration and camaraderie and community happening, and they're really finding solutions. You don't want to come in and be like, okay, guys, let's move on. Let's move on. It's like, no, like you have encouraged that type of culture. So you don't want to suck the air right out of what's happening. You want to stay connected, applying emotional intelligence. And of course, you want to be considerate and empathetic. If somebody is communicating a frustration, you don't want to dismiss that. If they're communicating a concern, you don't want to dismiss it. Even if it is irrelevant in the moment, there's a way to acknowledge it, to see it. And then, of course, there's also a way to transition from that by still making them feel seen and validated and cared for. So Rachel, you're making such a great point today. And I'm so sorry that this is happening consistently in your department. Hey, I would love to, right after this, I would love to meet with you for a few minutes and we make sure that we get to the bottom of this because this matters to me. Thank you, Rachel, for being vulnerable and authentic and sharing that with us today. It's important for us to know we're your team. Stuff like that. And then take 15 seconds and then you move on. Okay. So make sure you stay connected, consistently read the room, get a good feel. Okay. So next point, minimize. So minimize off-topic tangents. Minimize off-topic tangents. So there will be certain moments to where the team, there's a healthy level of it to where you can joke about the game last night or whatever, but make sure that is like, I haven't thought through this percentage, but let's just say 5% of the conversation, if that, whatever. Minimize off-topic tangents though. So if it's getting too in left field, then you can just pull it back. Or if somebody's sharing a business concern that doesn't apply to the whole room, again, you can make them feel seen, just like our last point, and just say, hey, yeah, I love that. Great input. Hey, let's connect right after this offline. Let's follow up offline. Let's follow up right after this. That's important to me. Thanks for sharing that. Something like that. So it still makes them feel seen. But you do want to minimize the football talk. You want it to be had because, again, that is a time for community. And that's fun. That's a good part of culture. Okay. But we just need to be sensitive that sometimes it can be a little bit too much. Okay. Next point. Review at the end. So again, recap, review, clear takeaways. We've said that already. So when you get to the end of the meeting, you can say, okay, let's sum it up with this thought. Here are a couple of things. Again, a couple of things that we need to walk away with, etc. Okay, so review at the end. Next point, a few more. Manage the energy. Okay. If it's a long meeting, if it's a heavy meeting, you can just simply say, hey guys, I understand we're kind of getting a little, I feel a little fatigued. Let's just take 5. Let's take 5. No big deal. Take 5. You can even take 5 on a Zoom call. Hey, let's get up, stretch, go for a bathroom break. And man, just that little bit of reset can go a long way. So let's just take 5. If it starts getting too tense, let's take 5. If it starts getting too lethargic, take 5. just anything like that. Nothing wrong with the take 5. Okay. Sometimes that goes a long ways. Okay. All right. Next point. This is a fun one. Have entertainment of some sort. Have entertainment of some sort. So an icebreaker, game, coffee, music, food. That's best case scenario. Man, that goes a long ways. It's a lot of fun when you walk in and there's just a little bit of an extra, icing on the cake. So have entertainment of some sort. Now, of course, this is much easier in an in-person meeting, but there are a lot of different softwares and whatnot you can apply to Zoom meetings as well to have a little bit of fun. Okay, 2 more. Next point. If no one is prepared, confront and reschedule the meeting. Okay, if you have communicated beforehand that there is preparation that needs to be had, if you walk in and no one's prepared, you confront that. Hey guys, I love you, but this isn't what we do here. We are excellent in the way of our work, and we come prepared because we want to honor everyone's time in this room. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a halt to the meeting today. And hey, in 3 days from now, we're going to regather, and we're all, including myself, we're all going to come prepared. Does everybody understand? Any questions? Thanks, guys. But we really need to be prepared, for these meetings. And you confront it, and you don't pass over it. You don't just let it go. It needs to be acknowledged and confronted. But you reschedule the meeting. There's no point of having the meeting in that moment if nobody's prepared. Okay, and that's part of culture building. Okay, you have what you allow. Okay, as a culture, and so if you don't want it, don't allow it. Okay. Last but not least, and I've already alluded to some of this, but I want to get it in writing. Next point. Affirm, document, and pivot as needed. Affirm, document, and pivot as needed. Now, I said this earlier. You are the conductor. You're the director of the room. If something starts getting a little bit off topic or out of focus, or something that just doesn't need to be talked about in that moment, again, make sure they feel seen, affirmed, make sure you take note of it, and then you pivot. Okay. I also encourage you to just, listen to podcasts and watch YouTube videos on how to be an incredible facilitator. I'm sure that there are master classes on it as well. I love when I see a good facilitator of a room. Again, the big thought here is be the most interested, not the most interesting. I hope this encouraged you today. Can't wait to see you next time.